Hey folks, Mark Levin here. Now, before we dive in today's episode, I want to talk about something truly valuable, protecting your financial future with gold. It's called diversification. Now, for that, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're the real deal with 5-star service and a sterling reputation. So give them a call today. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Trust me, you'll thank yourself in the future. Now let's get to the show. Results may vary. Consult with your financial professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Who's running America? You know, I sit here, I prepare for hours for this program. As soon as I get off the air, I'm preparing for the next program. I'm going through the news. I'm going through books, doing research, preparing analysis. And right before the national anthem was just played, I thought to myself, who runs this country? You know who runs this country, Mr. Producer? Corporate media. It's not Silicon Valley. It's not Wall Street. Everybody's got it wrong. The most powerful individuals and organizations in this country are the American media, big corporate media. Why? They're protected by the First Amendment. They don't have to follow any rules. They are responsible for creating, quote unquote, the news. And with mass media and technology and communication, they're in our homes, they're in our cars, they're in our ears, they're on our cell phones, morning, noon, and night, telling us what to think, telling us what to believe, telling us who to believe, telling us who to dehumanize, telling us who to create, false impressions of as angels. And the corporate media in America are the most powerful entities in the country. Not the oil companies, not the pharmaceutical companies, not the social media platforms, not Silicon Valley. None of it. The corporate media, they're the most powerful. Virtually no regulations under the First Amendment. No accountability because of the First Amendment. No responsibility because of the First Amendment. They have no internal controls. In fact, the corporate media advance the cause of the Democrat Party and the radical left. There is an oligopoly. What's an oligopoly? Well, basically, an oligopoly is a collection of businesses or companies or corporations, better yet, that control over 50% of a market. This is an oligopoly that controls almost 100% of the market. They hire from the same hiring pool, the Democrat Party, radical leftist organizations. They marry each other. They socialize with each other. They basically live in the same geographic cities. It's incestuous. The corporate media control America. They absolutely do. And it's the corporate media that decided to get rid of Joe Biden after insisting that you should vote for him, after protecting him like the Praetorian Guard. It's the corporate media that propagandizes 24/7, day in and day out, 365 days a year, that tells you who to like, who to dislike, who's Hitler, and who's Mahatma Gandhi. The corporate media controls communication in this country. That includes what they want you to know and what they don't want you to know. That is controlled by omission and controlled by imposition. And they don't make any bones about it, because there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And so when they say Kamala Harris, that Kamala Harris is a fantastic candidate after a year ago, when she had the lowest ratings, according to NBC, on record of any former vice president, since they kept records. A year later, she's fantastic. She was the border czar, now she's not the border czar. And so they call this flip-flopping, I call it lying. They were lying then and they're lying now. It's all about power. It's all about control. It's all about authoritarianism. Now, they're even going to have, let's see if I got this. Yes, from Mr. Producer. NBC kicks off virtual roll call vote, DNC, to formally nominate Kamala Harris for president, CBS News. Does this bother you? A virtual roll call vote? Everything is being done by the media and the Democrat Party to ensure that she's the nominee without challenge, without debate, without discussion, without anything, without votes. The Democrat Party began the formal vote to nominate Vice President Kamala Harris. Did any of you even know this? I just saw this. On Thursday, that's today, kicking off a virtual roll call that will cement her status as the party standard bearer heading into November. So now we have virtual roll call votes? The Republicans didn't do that. The Democratic National... And by the way, democracy, they're going to defend democracy. You don't even hear that anymore. You don't even hear it anymore. Because it's so preposterous and so absurd given what's just taken place. The coup, the stealing of an election from the primary voters in the Democrat Party and the independents. The replacement of a president, not by any democratic means whatsoever. By threats, by pressure, by bullying. And now we have a virtual roll call to nominate Kamala Harris. People aren't even in the same room to debate it, to discuss it, to challenge it. Everybody's at home. A virtual roll call means they're doing it over their computers. The DNC opened the vote to the delegates who will decide the party's nominee at 9 a.m. Delegates are emailed a personalized and watermarked form. And they can either send the form back or have the DNC call them to cast their vote. Ballots are being sent on a rolling basis, and the process is expected to take several days, with the voting window closing at 6 p.m. on August 5. Monday. The DNC said it will share the full results of the roll call after it's completed, but it's unclear whether they will make an announcement when Harris passes the threshold needed to secure a majority of the 1,976 delegates. The outcome of the vote is not in doubt, given that Harris has the support and endorsement of nearly all the pledged Democratic delegates. Close to 3,900 delegates have indicated they support Harris through their signatures to get her onto the virtual ballot in the first place. Who voted for the delegates? Nobody. Now, the fact is, you have delegates. You vote for Biden-Harris, that ticket, which means they send their delegates to the convention, but the voters never voted for Harris-Biden or Harris for president. This is a completely fraudulent process, the whole damn thing. There's nothing democratic about it. It's all autocratic. They'll share the results with us, ladies and gentlemen. When she gets the majority at 1976, they'll let us know about it. So they're going to have a convention. A convention for what? To put on a show. All the dirty work will have been done. It's all done. We've never seen anything like this. Yes, the outcome of the vote is not in doubt. Harris is slated to make history. Here we go. CBS. As the first black woman to be nominated for president in U.S. history, she quickly solidified her support after Biden announced he was dropping out of the race on July 21, and no other candidate emerged to challenge her candidacy in the wake of the president's decision. We know what took place. Now, look, the media and the Democrats can't keep talking about race, and then when people notice it and talk about race who disagree with Kamala Harris, say you're racist for talking about race, when the party of racism keeps talking about race. They keep talking about DEI. They put it in their executive orders. They put it in their federal contracts and grants. It's in most universities and colleges. The Democrat Party itself embraces it. And then when you notice it and you point it out, again, what are you doing? Trying to run a race on racism? And so here it is, the first black woman to be nominated. Nominated. But not in a democratic process. She's coronated. If they're going to write accurately, it should be the first black woman to be coronated as the Democrat nominee for president. Meanwhile, they say focus has turned to Harris's selection of a vice presidential running mate. She doesn't need to name her pick before the roll call vote ends, but sources tell CBS she can make her announcement by this coming Monday. And according to the media, true or false, the two frontrunners are Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania and Mark Kelly of Arizona. Why? Why? Well, for Josh Shapiro, there's two reasons. One, he's the governor of Pennsylvania, and they're hoping that he'll drag Pennsylvania into the Kamala Harris bucket. But historically, it doesn't really work that way. And there's another reason, because he's Jewish. If she chooses him, it's because he's the governor of Pennsylvania and Jewish. Why? Because she's the most anti-Israel candidate for president or vice president in American history since the state of Israel was established. She's done more to provide propaganda air cover to Hamas in Gaza and to the Islamists in the United States. She's very close to this group CAIR, C-A-I-R, which is a Hamas front group. And Hamas is a terrorist organization for which Kamala Harris so far hasn't had to answer a damn thing. And so she figures, I have a Jewish husband and I'll have a Jewish running mate. So what? Probably the most hostile senator to the state of Israel is Bernie Sanders, who was born a Jew. But he's a Marxist. So they hate Israel. And they hate the Torah. And they hate ancient history because Marxists don't like history. If you don't like history, you definitely don't like the Jews. Anthony Blinken is half Jewish. Hasn't he done a fantastic job? Schumer, I believe, is half Jewish, if not all Jewish. He's been stabbing Netanyahu and the government of Israel in the back left and right. They're all about power. But so what if her husband's Jewish? So what if Josh Shapiro's Jewish? It's Kamala Harris who seeks to be president of the United States. It's her record. It's her words that matter. But she's used to getting where she wants to go through appearances, that is, creating appearances, so through pseudo-events. Now, what if it's Mark Kelly of Arizona? Well, Mark Kelly of Arizona is sort of a moderate when it comes to the border. He's weak, very weak. But then she can hide behind him and say, see, I've picked this great guy for the border. It's all about creating an image. It's all about creating false narratives. I want to ask you a question. Without going on your computer and researching, name 3 things Kamala Harris has done as vice president that are important. That are important to the country. You can't name one. Not one. Nothing. She hasn't led anything. She had her chance to be a star on the border, but she couldn't because she doesn't believe in illegal immigration as a matter of fact. She doesn't believe that illegal immigrants should be charged. She rejects ICE and the Border Patrol. That's what she has said. Now that she wants to be president, of course, she lies about her record, about her position, and all the rest. But she only gets away with it because of the most powerful corporations in the United States of America who run this country. The corporate media. And their reprobates, and their malcontents, and their miscreants who stare at you in the TV screen, go over the microphone, and lie to you and to your face. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, folks, we're living in unprecedented times. And September 18th could be a watershed moment. With President Trump's sentencing approaching, we're facing potential political upheaval, which could create some dangerous market and economic chaos. That's where gold and diversification come in. Gold has always been one of the ultimate safe havens in times of turmoil. And when it comes to gold, I only trust one company. I've dealt with many. That's Advantage Gold. They're a 5-star American company that I recommend to everyone. They're the experts in helping Americans protect their money with gold and silver using existing retirement savings with 0 fees. So call Advantage Gold today at 800-900-8000 and they'll send you a free gold investment kit to help you get started. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Don't wait until September 18th. It's already here, folks. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit from Advantage Gold. That's 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial tax professional.
And yeah, I am radical. I do believe that we need to get radical about what we are doing and take it seriously.
Had to Breitbart. That's Kamala Harris. See, she's radical. That was from 2010. Mark, that's so long. Excuse me, she was an adult. She was the Attorney General of California. I agree with her. She will not submit to a real interview by one of the handful of real journalists who are left. She won't submit to it. She knows if she does that her own words will be played and that she'll have to respond to them. But she doesn't want that. And so she's ducking the media. Now, Joe Biden had an excuse. He has dementia. Kamala Harris has an excuse too, I suppose. She's a radical kook. And when she really was seriously questioned, even by Lester Holt, a friendly interviewer, NBC host, who's a very good journalist, I think, she crumbled. She made an ass out of herself. I'll be right back. Hi, this is Mark Levin, and I've got an urgent message that can't wait. September 18th is coming, and with it, President Trump's sentencing. We're staring down this barrel again of potential market chaos. The question isn't if there's going to be a fallout, but how much. In times of instability, many smart investors turn to gold as part of diversification. And when I think of gold, I think of Advantage Gold. These folks are true partners in helping Americans find financial stability. Advantage Gold's experts understand the connection between politics and economics, and they can navigate you through these crazy times using gold to help shield your hard-earned wealth. So call my trusted friends at Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit. If you wait until September 18th, it might be too late. 800-900-8000 for your free investment kit. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial and tax professional.
The establishment's worst nightmare. Mark Levin. Call in now. 877-381-3811.
Now, Joe Biden has demonstrated as recently as May 29, 2024, that he's a racist. As recently as May 29, 2024, he's demonstrated that he's a racist. He was at a rally. It's at a rally when he was actually running for president again. So I want you to listen very, very carefully, Joy Reid. I want you to listen very, very carefully, Joe Scarborough. I want you to listen very, very carefully, Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, and all the other hosts without ratings. I want you to listen very, very careful. That is carefully, New York Slimes, Washington Compost, all the race baiters in the media. I want you to listen very, very carefully to Joe Biden, the racist. That's right. Cut 14, go.
They're trying to erase black history. We're going to write black history because it's American history. It's American history. Together we make history, not erase it. To me, the values of diversity, equality, inclusion are literally, and that's not kidding, the core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history. It taps into the full talents of our country and starts at the top with the vice president.
So he just called his vice president, the way I hear it, a DEI vice president. Did he not, Mr. Producer? He said it starts at the top. This is the core of America. DEI. Now, nobody's played this. We found this, and I played it, and I'm going to play it again. And I'm going to ask MSLSD and the Constipated News Network. I'm going to ask the New York Slimes editorial page to look at this, the Washington Compost. I'm going to ask the network news organizations to comment on this, to at least inform the American people that 2 months ago, not me, I don't play that game, not me, Joe Biden called Kamala Harris a DEI vice president. I didn't do it. He did it. Again, listen. Cut 14. Go.
They're trying to erase black history. We're going to write black history because it's American history. It's American history. Together we make history, not erase it. To me, the values of diversity, equality, inclusion are literally, and that's not kidding, the core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history. It taps into the full talents of our country and starts at the top with the vice president.
Okay. Now, the media will spin this because the media are not interested in facts. They're not interested in exposing this. They're not interested in the schizophrenia within the radical left and the Democrat Party on this issue of DEI. They praise it. They embrace it. He says it's the core strength of America, one of them. They put it in their executive orders. They put it in their contracts for federal contractors. They put it in grants. They impose it on colleges and universities. And then when you raise it, they go, what are you talking about? You must be a racist. Really? No, you're the people who invented it in the Democrat Party. You're the people who can't stop talking about it. You're the people who celebrate it. And then when it's pointed out, you call people a racist. Again, I don't think this is the best way to campaign. I, however, am not running for anything. I use my noggin, and I'm pointing out what we see and what we hear. I am not Helen Keller, although she was fantastic. For a third time, I'll play it for the media that are slow in listening, for the race baiters and racialists all over the media, that it's Joe Biden who called Kamala Harris a DEI Vice President. There's really no other way to interpret this. Now, I am not encouraging the Trump campaign or anybody to keep at this. She's so bad substantively, so horrific. You will crush her on the economy. You will crush her on the border. You will crush her on so many things. But you cannot allow the corporate media and their Democrat Party clients to keep lying about who the racists are. It's the Democrats. They've always been racists. LBJ, Biden goes down to his library to praise him for the 1964 Civil Rights Act. LBJ was one of the most horrendous racists ever to serve in the White House, even according to his two biographers. And if you read The Democrat Party Hates America, there it is. It's not even a close call. And yet Joe Biden goes down there. He's the guy, the racist segregationist early in his career. The National Association of Black Journalists, if Joe Biden had showed up, if he were still running for president, would that ABC News so-called reporter have pummeled him with his history? They try and create this image of Trump. Would they have pummeled Joe Biden? Not an image, a reality, facts, his history, about how he stood in the doorway to prevent little black kids from getting on buses to going to schools with little white kids. Nobody knows that better than Kamala Harris. And if Kamala Harris does wind up at the National Association of Black Journalists event, maybe they'll hold a new one. Why don't they ask her? How the hell could you have run with a man? How could you be vice president to a man who you yourself said in so many words was a segregationist? Right? Last time, at least for now, I want you in the backbencher world, TV and radio, to use this. To use it. To call out the media, to call out the Democrat Party, to call out the DNC, to call out Biden and Kamala Harris and their rotten, lousy propaganda campaigns. And remind them, 2 months ago, just 2 months ago, Joe Biden not only celebrated DEI, he said it's the core strength of America. But he said it starts at the top with the vice president. He said it. Not Trump. He said it. Cut 14. One more time. Go.
They're trying to erase black history. We're going to write black history because it's American history. It's American history. Together we make history, not erase it. To me, the values of diversity, equality, inclusion are literally, and that's not kidding, the core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history. It taps into the full talents of our country and starts at the top with the vice president.
Okay, fine. There you go. And the media will find a way to twist that. Just as the media told you that the clips of Joe Biden shuffling around, he was actually an Olympic athlete. And when he was mumbling, speaking to himself in Joe Biden gibberish, they were telling you that he's the smartest man since Albert Einstein. Oh, of course, I emphasize with references, but you know. Then they told you after the debate he had to go, and then they installed. The corporate media have installed Kamala Harris. And as I led the program off this evening, the most powerful force in America is not the pharmaceutical companies or Wall Street or the oil companies or any of that. It's the corporate media. They have no regulations. You see, when we had a First Amendment, that is, when the First Amendment was adopted, I should say, there was no corporate anything, let alone corporate media. So what's happened here is the whole system has been poisoned. So we're not talking about a few people with a printing press or anything of that. We now have mass communications at a level nobody could have imagined. And it's immediate. And wherever you go, you see people staring at their iPhone, either sending texts or looking at news. And so with that should come a responsibility and accountability, but it doesn't. If you're an oil company, you have a massive amount of oversight. You have auditors. You have massive regulations, fines if you violate them. If you're any type of corporation in this country other than a media corporation, you're regulated, taxed, overseen, audited up the wazoo. So this is an area that the left has conquered. Now, got to keep moving. Remember that Senate bill that Donald Trump told all the Republicans to? It was a bipartisan bill. It's time that we speak some facts to this. There's nothing bipartisan about this bill. There wasn't a single Republican in the House that would have supported it. There were less than a handful of Republicans who ultimately voted for it. I think 3 or 4 tops, maybe 2. It was negotiated in secret. Republican senators didn't know what the hell was going on until it was dropped in their laps, and they were appalled. And it wasn't because Donald Trump said kill it. These people think for themselves. It was an appalling bill. Now, what did it do? Well, Mark Morgan and Tom Homan know something about this. I mean, these are men who have led the effort on border security, on immigration, to secure this nation for decade after decade after decade. They looked at this for the Heritage Foundation. Now, this isn't hiding anywhere. They wrote a piece in February 2024. The media can look at it. They said the Senate bill codifies President Biden and DHS Secretary Mayorkas's open border tools in the statute. These measures would not only continue the border crisis, but would also make it more difficult for any future enforcement-minded president to fix it. So they would enshrine by statute what Biden did by executive order and make it almost impossible for President Trump to reverse course. They say the key takeaway is that neither the funding nor the statutory reforms would truly secure the border, and border security is the only measure that Congress should use. With more than $7 billion for the Department of Homeland Security, State Justice, and Health and Human Services, the Biden administration would again fund, quote, sanctuary, unquote, jurisdictions, sanctuary cities, and non-governmental organizations, NGOs, that have been facilitating mass illegal immigration, $7 billion, using federal grants provided by these departments. Sanctuary mayors and governors have decried the volume and cost of its illegal alien amassed in their jurisdictions, yet they do not terminate their sanctuary policies. Instead, they simply demand more federal taxpayer money to pay for sheltering, transporting, and providing social services to the ever-increasing number of illegal aliens. This bill would deliver for these mayors and governors. So $7 billion to sanctuary cities and states and to non-governmental organizations that are facilitating mass illegal immigration. That was in the bill. It accepts and codifies crisis levels of daily illegal immigration. If passed into the law, it would create a 3-year border emergency authority to allow agents to expel illegal aliens back across the border during, quote, extraordinary migration circumstances. But the numerous exceptions and limitations swallow the authority whole. The Secretary of Homeland Security has the discretion to activate the authority, discretion, after the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, encounters an average of 4,000 illegal aliens daily for 7 consecutive days. Secretary activation of the emergency authority becomes mandatory after it encounters 5,000 illegal alien daily average for 7 consecutive days, or 8,500 in one day. Not counted in those numbers, are unaccompanied children, parolees, those who claim they fear persecution, also the people being brought into the country by the app by the hundreds of thousands, and people being flown into the country by the hundreds of thousands. None of them are counted when considering this number. You got that? Also, people who've been in the United States for at least 14 days, already traveled beyond 100 miles from the southwest border, they're not included. So you have loophole after loophole, total Swiss cheese. The secretary would not be able to activate the authority for more than 270 days, 225 days, and 180 days in any calendar year, and continue to allow these crisis-level numbers of illegal alien encounters means the border agents would remain overwhelmed, and more illegal crossers will evade the agents, turning into gotaways and bad actors would slip through limited and rushed vetting. Look at the red tape that they put in here to ensure that the border won't be secured. It continues catch and release. Guts the mandatory detention statute. Current law mandates detention for any alien who illegally enters the U.S. while pursuing asylum protection. This bill redefines detention to non-custodial detention and applies the supervised release by another name only to adults. So in other words, they let them loose in the country. If passed into law, families and children would be released without supervision. Worse, the bill codifies the Flores Settlement Agreement as interpreted by a single federal judge in California who ruled that unaccompanied aliens could be in immigration detention no longer than 20 days. She later expanded her ruling to accompanied aliens, meaning families. So you have to release them if they're here for more than 20 days. It expands and codifies Alejandro Mayorkas' mass parole abuse. If enacted, the Senate bill would codify asylum processing rule. Would give aliens work authorization immediately upon release and create a bureaucratic third administrative appellate body with multiple chances for review, reconsideration, appeal, and on and on. In other words, it's bullcrap. They wouldn't even agree to this bipartisan bill. If they did, it would be over. There'd be no enforcement. The president on his own can say, I'm not going to enforce it under the bill. None of the money's available till 2028. There's really nothing in here about securing the border, is there? That's what Kamala Harris is using. And the Democrats and the media. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, folks, we're living in unprecedented times. And September 18th could be a watershed moment. With President Trump's sentencing approaching, we're facing potential political upheaval, which could create some dangerous market and economic chaos. That's where gold and diversification come in. Gold has always been one of the ultimate safe havens in times of turmoil. And when it comes to gold, I only trust one company. I've dealt with many. That's Advantage Gold. They're a 5-star American company that I recommend to everyone. They're the experts in helping Americans protect their money with gold and silver using existing retirement savings with zero fees. So call Advantage Gold today at 800-900-8000 and they'll send you a free gold investment kit to help you get started. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Don't wait until September 18th. It's already here, folks. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit from Advantage Gold. That's 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial tax professional. Why didn't they just sign this bill? This bill would have been the end of immigration. And the border would be forever open. That's why they didn't sign it. They keep saying it was bipartisan. Even Mitch McConnell voted against it. There's nothing bipartisan about it. Now, when we come back, I'm going to discuss this deal over these mass murderers who slaughtered thousands of Americans on 9/11, as well as the hostage release, or swap, I should say, that just took place. There's much more to discuss as well, including a pending potential massive war. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Kamala Harris walks it back on felons voting. Murderers, terrorists should be deprived of voting rights, she says now. But as the Free Beacon points out, and what a fantastic website, Cameron Cawthorn Senator Kamala Harris walked back her comment on having a conversation. She always says, let's have a conversation about letting felons vote in prison, saying she believes that murderers and terrorists should be deprived of their rights. CNN's senior correspondent Jeff Zeleny reported on Twitter Tuesday night that Harris walked back to remark about Senator Bernie Sanders' position to allow felons, including the Boston Marathon bomber, to vote. Quote, clean up in the town hall aisle, Zeleny tweeted, a day after saying she welcomed a conversation about inmates voting in jail. Kamala Harris said today, do I think the people who commit murder, people who are terrorists, should be deprived the right to vote? Yeah, I do. I'm a prosecutor. Harris, who is running for president, attended a CNN town hall meeting in Manchester, New Hampshire on Monday night, where she was asked, this is, as you can tell, this is from, what's the date here? Yeah, I know that. April 23rd, 2019. Harris, who is running for president, attended a CNN town hall in Manchester, New Hampshire on Monday night, where she was asked about Sanders' contention that even terrorists should be allowed to vote. Sanders had his own CNN town hall meeting in which he asked about his position. He said, inherent to our democracy, and thus they should have that right. You believe this? Harris initially dodged the question about Sanders, but after being pressed by moderator Don Lemon, she said, we should have that conversation. We should. Harris's record as a prosecutor has gotten her into some trouble with certain segments of the left as she aggressively sent marijuana deniers to prison. That is, marijuana dealers to prison. While she was California's attorney general, she has hit some bumps since deciding to run for president and having to soften her formerly tough on crime stances. So this is when she was running last time. She had to think about whether terrorists, mass murderers, and rapists should vote. See what I'm talking about? This is her. What amazes me is they try to paint Trump like some kind of neo-Nazi and Klansman. And yet here we have Kamala Harris, who hangs out with Islamists, with violent organizations, front groups for Hamas, a mass murder ideology and organization, spawned from the Muslim Brotherhood. Here we have Joe Biden, who in fact, half a century ago, demonstrated by actions his segregationism and his racism. Here we have 2 months ago, where Joe Biden essentially refers to Kamala Harris as DEI. It starts at the top of the vice president. Here the media falling all over itself, pretending that they're offended. The media that uses the word Hitler, like they use the word lollipop. The media that is now trying to turn J.D. Vance into Kamala Harris and Kamala Harris into J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, who came up dirt poor, with a mother who was a drug addict, raised by his grandmother, had nothing, absolutely nothing. He made something of himself. He joined the Marines. He went to Harvard. He became a successful entrepreneur. None of that is true of Kamala Harris. She wasn't raised that way. I believe her mother was a professor or some kind of professional. I understand she was raised by her mother. Her father left. But here you have a guy, J.D. Vance, who came from nothing. And yet they try to destroy him on his texts, on his emails. But when it comes to Kamala Harris and her public statements as an adult, as an attorney general, as a DA, as a senator, as a vice president, we're told to ignore them. They're censoring them. Pretty disgusting, don't you think? Now, this administration has made a deal with the devil. It's made a deal with the devil. It makes a deal with the devil, and then it claims it doesn't have any control because that's the Defense Department and the lawyers over there, and we don't want to interfere. I have no idea what they're talking about, but if the President of the United States, the head of the executive branch, says no deal with the 9/11 terrorists, the ringleader, among others, then there's no deal. The deal is that they're going to get to live. No death penalty. They're going to get to live. 9/11. Some of you weren't alive back then. Many of us were. Did you ever believe? I ask you, America. I ask my brothers and sisters in Pennsylvania. I ask my brothers and sisters in Northern Virginia. I ask my brothers and sisters in New York City. New York City. Would you believe we have an administration, a regime that is negotiated to allow these mass murderers, these Islamist mass murderers, to live? In addition to the utter immorality of it. It's unconscionable, the other immorality of it. You're telling terrorists, Islamists all over the world, you can slaughter 3,000 Americans and you will not face the death penalty. The insanity of what we're living through today. An administration that funds Iran, funds the PLO, funds Hamas, puts his foot on Netanyahu and Israel's throat. An administration that has open borders. My wife just sent me an article from Newsweek. Enough fentanyl. Enough fentanyl. Today, actually it was a few weeks back, I think, but today or a few weeks back, it doesn't matter, was seized on the border in one package to kill 250 million people. How much is getting through? And we have to go through this semantical dance that Kamala Harris wasn't the border czar. They just lie. And the lies have consequences. Death, casualties, mayhem. You're going to cut a deal? You're going to cut a deal with the leader of 9/11 so he can live? And other than the 9/11 families and conservatives, I'm not hearing butkus from anybody else. Ever. About this, or at all. It's disgusting. And then the national security advisors asked me, well, actually, that's something that goes on with the lawyers over there at the Defense Department and the Pentagon, and they've been working it out with the for some time with the vendors. We really can't interfere. We're monitoring it. What are you talking about, a-hole? The President of the United States can stop whatever he wants to stop. It's just beyond belief what goes on in this administration. And Kamala Harris, you see, she gets to play rope-a-dope. She's now talking about the Biden-Harris negotiations, that she's been committed to getting these hostages out. She hasn't done a damn thing. Then when it comes to the border, don't look at me. I wasn't involved in it. Don't try and pin that on me. I wasn't the border czar. She has the luxury, you see, of being a vice president who has literally done nothing. So she can claim she's done something because Biden, the regime, the Democrats, and the media will lie for her. And then she can claim she didn't know and she didn't do anything. Just depends on the issue. Oh, yes, I was responsible for that. If it polls well. No, I had nothing to do with that. Why are you trying to label me with that? And, of course, the media are right there. It's unbelievable to me. Now, the odds are that she's going to pick this clown governor of Pennsylvania as her running mate. Not because he's done something wonderful. Because he's the governor of Pennsylvania and he's Jewish. So when you criticize her, the corrupt corporate media will say, well, how can you say she's anti-Semitic? How can you say she's her husband's Jewish and her running mate's Jewish? Oh. I don't remember them talking up the Jewish thing, Mr. Producer, when it came to Trump and his grandchildren and his daughter and his son-in-law, do you? But I don't give a damn if she's married to a Jewish person or a kumquat. I don't give a damn if she's running with a Jewish running mate, if she is, or a kumquat. I could care less. The focus is on her and what she has said or not said, or what she has done or not done. And she is the most dangerous person in high levels of public office when it comes to the security and safety and the survivability of Israel than anyone else but Bernie Sanders and Tlaib and Omar and AOC and that crowd, the Hamas crowd. Has she ever denounced any of them? Not once. Has she ever defended the prime minister who's trying to defend his people in Israel? Not once. She's close to CARE. CARE is a Hamas front group. If Donald Trump was close to the Klan or a neo-Nazi group, we'd all be repulsed. We'd all speak out against it. Then media would. How come then? When Kamala Harris is tight with a group called CARE that was founded by Hamas, that is an organization, a front organization for Hamas. The FBI has said so. They wiretapped them. There was a big lawsuit, the Holy Land Foundation. We know the whole thing. Why does she embrace that organization, and why does that organization embrace her? It's a Jew-hating organization. They want the extermination of the Jews. Why does she embrace that group? And why do they embrace her? And that's not the only group. Don't say that phrase. What phrase? Radical Islamic terrorism. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. She's a dangerous person. She's vapid. She's ideological. The things she says are bad enough. And now all of a sudden, you and I are supposed to play the role that the media had the Democrats play when they were pushing Biden. He's great. He understands. What's all this phony audio, phony video? He's not shuffling. He's not stumbling. He wasn't just walking off into the Never Never Land. There was actually somebody there 10 feet away from him. We heard this day in and day out. You know what Kamala Harris is, if I have to point to something that it reminds, she is effectively, for the media, she's effectively the Hunter Biden laptop, Mr. Producer. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what did they do with the Hunter Biden laptop? They ignored everything that was in it. They attacked anybody who pointed to it. They lied about it in order to affect that election, which it did. What are they doing with Kamala Harris? They're pretending the old Kamala Harris doesn't exist unless it helps her. So they'll cherry pick. Oh, she's a tough prosecutor. She'll ignore all those poor kids who are now adults who were molested by priests on the West Coast. They'll ignore those kids. They're not going to interview them, who are now adults, because that hurts Kamala Harris. So they don't exist. The fact that she's tied in, with this group CARE, it's as if it doesn't matter. As if it doesn't exist. So you have to inform your side. It's like the Senate bipartisan border security bill. It was a sham. It enshrined virtually every one of Joe Biden's executive orders. It raised the level so high of illegal immigration, you'd still have millions of illegal aliens and gotaways coming across the border. The Border Patrol and ICE would still be overwhelmed. There's so many loopholes in it that the loopholes devour the substance of the act. The money's not spent for multiple years. Most of the money is not spent on securing the border. And I can go on and on and on. And they wave it around. If we only signed this, we'd have a secure border. And so what we're having to do here, it's like you're blindfolded, you're given boxing gloves, and you're fighting a boxer. Or better yet, it's like you're the female Italian boxer boxing, I think, the guy from Sudan who's transitioned or transitioning. Yeah. It's not a fair fight, is it? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk. The Republicans and Trump are a threat to democracy, says Kamala. They're a threat to your freedom. Let's take a listen, Mr. Producer. Cut 12, go.
Across our nation, we are witnessing a full-on attack on hard-fought, hard-won fundamental freedoms and rights. The freedom to vote, the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom to live without fear of bigotry and hate, the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride, the freedom to learn and acknowledge America's true and full history.
What the hell is she talking about? Is there somebody who's not allowed to vote? Isn't the problem the opposite? People are voting or not supposed to be voting? Freedom to be safe from gun violence? Isn't she the one supporting Soros prosecutors? Open borders? What do they think comes across open borders? Killer drugs, killers, and illegal weapons. The freedom to love? Is somebody stopping somebody from loving somebody? The freedom to learn and acknowledge America's true and full history? Well, that's what we want to do. She supports the 1619 Project and critical race theory. These are Marxist, racist ideologies. The freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body? You know what? President Trump should stand up there when he debates and say, you should thank those justices for the Dobbs decision, because since the Dobbs decision, there have been more abortions than before the Dobbs decision years ago, because the blue states have almost no requirements. What is it that you want, Kamala? I'll be right back. I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
So we did a hostage trade. You know, I'm always of two minds on these things. Number one, your heart goes out to these people and to their families, and you want them to have their family member back. You really do. But also, a president or a prime minister's responsibilities to the security of the country. And you want to do it under circumstances and under conditions that don't wind up creating a precedent with more hostages being taken. It's a fine line. I guess each case is to be determined on its own merits, that sort of thing. But there's Biden taking a swipe at Trump. He inherited, you see, from the prior administration, hostages. But of course, it's not all true. The Wall Street Journal journalist was taken during his administration. The basketball player, the female basketball player, was taken during his administration. But it doesn't matter. Mark Thiessen has pointed out. Notice how I give credit when I know what the source is or who the source is. That under Donald Trump, he brought back more hostages than 8 years of Obama and 4 years of Biden combined. And this was something that really drove Trump. He really wanted to get hostages back. And many of the countries he dealt with were scared the hell of him and what he might do. There's speculation that, that this was done now because it's coming near the end of Biden's tenure and all kinds of weird arguments. No, I would argue this. If you're the enemy, who would you rather deal with, Biden and Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? It's really that simple. So Trump gets no credit for anything. He only gets attacked. And that's the nature of the Democrat Party and the media and their dehumanization campaign. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Joy Reid, I've told you before, is a bigot. She's an anti-Semite. She's, in the past, has certainly demonstrated she's a homophobe, and there she is on prime time on MSNBC because a corporation by the name of Comcast owns MSNBC and NBC, and they want her there. They want her there. And she's constantly lying about, smearing, character assassinating the Jewish prime minister who leads the Jewish state of Israel. Not Hezbollah, not Hamas, not Iran, not the Houthis, Netanyahu. And unfortunately, she's illustrative of the rest of the media in our country, and much of the Democrat Party. Cut 5, go.
So again, I think Netanyahu saw the opportunity here to embarrass Iran, to prevent any type of development of engagement and dialogue between the United States, the West, and Iran, but also to, again, put a nail in the coffin, so to speak, of a ceasefire in Gaza, which is so much overdue and so needed for these Palestinians who continue to die on a daily basis.
So this is John Brennan. This is John Brennan, who started out voting for the communist candidate for president when he was a young man. Doesn't sound like he's changed very much. We know Joy Reid hasn't changed at all. So the thinking is, the argument is, in the media, believe it or not, that Netanyahu took out this Islamo Nazi, multi-billionaire, this fat slob, who was living in Qatar in a 5-star hotel protected by the terrorist state of Qatar, that he was taken out by Netanyahu to prevent a ceasefire. So it's Netanyahu's fault. These Palestinians who continue to die on a daily basis, many of them are starving to death as a result of Hamas and this fat slob who was killed. And by the way, according to reports, accurate or not, there was a bomb placed in that guy's room. Somehow somebody knew where he's going to stay, I guess, weeks ago. You know what that means, America? That means that there is an underground opposition in Iran that is active, that is vibrant, working with Israeli intelligence, the Mossad. But here's Joy Reid. Joy Reid will use the Hamas terrorist numbers, because in my view, Joy Reid is an anti-Semite. She can come on the program and defend herself and deny it. But based on years and years of what she has said, she's a bigot. And here's an example. Go.
More than 38,000 and counting. I don't even know what the number is at this stage. Close to 40,000 people in Gaza.
Where'd you get that number from? Where'd you get the number from? Why are you using the number? Why are you using the propaganda of the Islamic Nazis? Why are you doing that? You know why she's doing it. Because she hates Israel and their elected prime minister. Why does MSNBC allow it? Why does Comcast allow it? Because they do too. Go ahead.
And it should be clear now to everyone, Benjamin Netanyahu is a radical. He is a radical individual surrounded by even more radical people.
Yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu wants to save his people and his country, you know. Actually, it was Israel who provoked the October 7 attack. It's Israel that provoked the missile attack that killed 12 Druze Israelis, little kids. That's right. It's Israel that pays for terrorists to kill Palestinians. It's Israel that breaks the ceasefires. It's Israel's fault. It's the Jews' fault. It's the Jews. Say it. Say it, Joy. Say it. You lowlife. You lowlife jerk. But you see, you can say that. If you had an individual on cable who came from a equally anti-Israel, anti-Jewish perspective, but were neo-Nazis or Klansmen, they would be banned, and they should be. But if you have somebody of the radical left, the Marxist/Islamist left, that's my opinion, and she's free to come on and debate me, you can say pretty much damn near anything you want about Jews, about Israel, about your own country, about quote-unquote white people, and that's what she does. So it's Benjamin Netanyahu's fault that he's defending his country. She's a disgrace. She is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And the idea that she has a platform of any kind, don't get me wrong, liberals, that's fine. People disagree with Israel, that's fine. People have different views, that's fine. That's not her. That's not her. She's not denounced by Democrats. She's not denounced by Jewish Democrats. She's not denounced by Kamala Harris, who, by the way, is married to a Jewish husband, if you didn't know. She'd like you to know that. And she's not denounced by Biden. She's not denounced by Josh Shapiro, who you may not know is the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania. Why is it the Democrats want you to know that her husband is Jewish and there's this Jewish governor of Pennsylvania, and we might select? I'll tell you why. It's window dressing. Their policies are what matter. The Prime Minister of the UK is another Israel hater. He's a hard left hack. He's married to a Jewish woman. Who cares? Like that gives him some protection from criticism. No, it doesn't. Any more than it does Harris, any more than it does this joke, this Josh Shapiro. And look what they do. Josh Shapiro is the greatest. Oh, my God. He's just unbelievable. Who is he? Nobody knows. Doesn't matter. He's the greatest. He's a moderate. Who says? We say. Oh, Mark Kelly in Arizona. He's unbelievable. Okay. J.D. Vance, lowlife. Oh, wait a minute. That's right. How come Harris campaign and Harris never say, I'll compare my record to Trump's record on Israel? How come they don't do that? Or I'll compare my record in fighting anti-Semitism in the United States to Trump's. How come they don't say that? Because they can't. They can't say that. Because Trump has a stellar record. She has a horrendous record. She hasn't actually done anything, but her statements alone and her affiliations with a Hamas front group CARE. By the way, as a Jew, may I say, what's with her husband? I mean, ladies and gentlemen, wouldn't the husband say to the wife, you're Jewish, say, hey, honey, remember I'm Jewish. You keep telling everybody I'm Jewish. What the hell are you doing with CARE? A Hamas front group that wants to exterminate Jews. Why are you associated with them? Why are they embracing you? And why is your pastor, Amos Brown, such an anti-Semite? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, in South Africa, the Free Beacon has written all about him. Maybe you don't know about him, honey. Why is he your pastor? Remember, I'm your Jewish husband. You keep telling everybody I'm Jewish. I'm your Jewish husband. Why do you do that, honey? How come you haven't been more outspoken in your condemnation of Hezbollah? How come you don't attack the leader of Iran while you're attacking the leader of the Jewish state? Honey, what? You know, I'm Jewish. You've been telling I'm Jewish. Remember? Why are you telling all these people trashing Israel and the Jewish state and Netanyahu, but you don't even talk about Iran and so forth? And why, honey, why is Biden, and you are vice president, sweetie, you're the vice president. Why are we funding Iran and the PLO and Hamas through UNRWA? Why are we doing these things? If you're the Jewish husband, wouldn't you say this? If you're the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania, wouldn't you say, you know what, Kamala? You're wonderful. I want you to win. I can't run with you. Because the comments you have made and the associations you have are so appalling to me as a Jewish American. I just can't do it. So it's best that you're not calling me. Use that guy, Mark Kelly. The guy, you know, the bald guy. Use him. Arizona. Former astronaut, you know, the whole shtick. Yeah. But don't call on me because I can't run with you. I'd be selling out who I am. My faith, my ethnicity, my morals. So I can't run with you, given your positions, your association with your pastor, your association with CARE. I just can't do that. And the fact that you haven't denounced Talib or Omar or AOC or Bernie Sanders, I just can't do that. So Kamala is the governor of Pennsylvania. By the way, I'm Jewish. Yeah, we know that. We know. Everybody keeps, oh, I'm Jewish. Yeah, we know. Quiet already. I can't run with you. Why? Because these bums care about power. That's all they care about. Power, power, power. That's why. I shall return.
Mark Levin.
I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/LEVIN. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/LEVIN, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk. Karine Jean-Pierre at the White House briefing today on this 9/11 plea deal, which is so nauseating. Asked by the great Jackie Heinrich of Fox News Channel. Cut 6, go.
Just hoping for a response to the 9/11 plea deal that spared the architects the death penalty. The New York City Firefighters Union put out a statement. It said, "We are disgusted and disappointed that these 3 terrorists were given a plea deal and allowed to escape the ultimate justice, while each month 3 more heroes from the FDNY are dying from World Trade Center illnesses." Does the administration have a message for them?
Look, our hearts go out. I mean,
not
much more than I can add to what you heard from the National Security Advisor and how I just answered the question to one of your colleagues. And I'll just reiterate, obviously, our hearts go out to the families who lost a loved one. We didn't have a role in this. This was not something that
I want you to stop. Does anybody believe that this would happen under President Trump? Does anybody believe this would happen under President Bush? Does anybody believe that this would have happened under Bush 41 or Ronald Reagan? No way. No damn way in hell. The idea that they weren't involved. Aren't you sick of this? They get to cherry pick the things that they're involved in and not involved in. Of course, he could step in and say, no damn way. He is the executive branch. Isn't it funny how they give these bastards a pass, but they go after Donald Trump? They love him thrown into prison for the rest of his life. That's their goal. So you've got complete lawfare at every level of the Democrat Party when it comes to Trump. But when it comes to these mass killers, it's, and we can't really interfere. We had nothing to do about it. Sick! Sick! I say sick! My God, we've got a powerful hour coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Stick with me. My foot is on the gas pedal.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Yellow. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I have a question. Why is Kamala Harris constantly talking about abortion rights? Since the Dobbs decision, there have been more abortions in our country than before the Dobbs decision. Around 100,000 more abortions. Now, she's either a moron or a demagogue or both. If Roe were still in place, there would be fewer abortions. So there's been a perverse outcome. Why? Because the blue states, I think 7 or 9 of them, have instituted laws with almost no limits on abortion. So that abortion industry is rolling along, man, one after another after another. Oh, reproductive rights. Right, yeah, they just keep going and going and going. So I'm quite serious about this. They're attacking President Trump's appointments from the left. From the left. They're saying that he wants to pass a national law. The court ruled that is a federalism issue. There's some questions about that, but I'm not going to get into that. That's not my point. My point is she's running around. She's the abortion candidate. She's the abortion extremist candidate. She is the partial birth abortion candidate. And why is it the Republicans in campaigns on the Republican don't know how to speak? I'm the candidate for abortion's right. Women reap. No, you're not. You're the candidate for infanticide. Say it. Everybody together. Infanticide. No parental notification. Say it. Because that's where she is. So this is perverse. The court rules that Roe was wrongly decided. The court was right. Court rules essentially, excuse me, it's a state decision. The blue states are running wild with their abortions. They are. They just are. Massive increases, which increases nationwide the number of abortions post the Dobbs decision. And she's running around the country attacking the Dobbs decision and attacking the justices who supported the Dobbs decision. Now, why am I the only one who keeps talking about this? Jake Tapper, where are you? Jake. Dana Bash. Dana. Where's Dana? The Scarboroughs. Where are the Scarboroughs? Come on, Scarboroughs. Where is everybody? So this is perverse. Now speaking of perverse, we have a man by the name of Schmuck Schumer. Talk about weird. Now there's a weirdo. In fact, you look in the encyclopedia. Do we still have encyclopedias, Mr. Producer? All right. No, you Google, and there is weird and the picture of Schumer. AP, in an attempt to reverse the Supreme Court's immunity decision, Schumer introduces the No Kings Act. I have a better name for this. Schumer is an a-hole act. That's what I would call it. The Schumer is an a-hole act. Nobody's a king except, of course, Biden. We can't prosecute him. He's an imbecile. Oh, I understand. No, he's not. That prosecutor should never have said it. 6 months later, he's an imbecile. We got to get rid of this guy. Let's bring in Kamala. 6 months before, Kamala can't win a race for county council. She's got the lowest rate. Now Kamala is the savior. Oh, my God, it's Kamala. We didn't know you. Now we know. You're fantastic. 12 days in a row, she's been ducking serious questions. And I said, Joe Biden had an excuse. He had dementia. Kamala Harris has an excuse, too, I guess. She really is an imbecile. I don't judge her by her genitalia. I don't judge her by her pigmentation. I don't judge anybody that way, quite frankly. Anybody. I judge her by her record, the way she speaks, the things she says. She lies. She's reversing course. And, of course, who can forget the big lie to the American people that affected our electoral system? What was that, Mark? She lied about Joe Biden for years, right up to the day that he was broomed. I mean, that he was heroic. Great patriot like we've never seen before. Schumer's No Kings Act would attempt to invalidate the decision by declaring that presidents are not immune from criminal law. Reading is fundamental, but when it comes to Chuck Schumer, he's an illiterate. The court never said the president's above the law. The court never said a president can't commit a crime. The court raised certain conditions so that the presidency itself wouldn't be destroyed. Now, the Democrats don't care about that. They're destroying the presidency right now by making it something it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be an equal partner with the other two branches. Instead, when the Democrats are in office, they want a dictator. So you have Biden ignoring the Supreme Court, 4 different decisions. Repeatedly, when it comes to student loans, he basically says, F them. I'll do whatever the hell I want. Well, who's going to stop me? I control the Department of Injustice. Which he does. There's the Democrat Party that wants to destroy American sovereignty, the border, ignores our laws. But we have this bipartisan agreement. Oh, my God, it's the... Shut up, morons. We got to get rid of this electoral college. Why should all these little states... I mean, they're big, like Montana and Wyoming, but they don't have enough people. Why shouldn't we in New York City and Los Angeles, in the big metropolitan areas, run everything? Because you would die of starvation. You don't know how to grow food. You don't know how to produce it. Hey! But we got the numbers, because the Constitution doesn't create a mob. It creates a republic. The No Kings Act, by the party that believes in centralized power, that the party that does not believe in federalism, by the party that doesn't believe in the rule of law because it was written by a white dominant society, by a party who would shred the Constitution if it could, by a party that wants monopoly power, by a party in its past that's been for slavery and segregation, eugenics. Oh, yes. The No Kings Act. So I'm renaming this act the Schumer is an a-hole act. What do you think of that, Mr. Producer? And he wants to change a Supreme Court decision with a statute. These people love breaking new ground when it comes to breaking the back of our constitutional order. The reason the Supreme Court had to rule on this issue is because of the unconstitutional prosecutor, Jack Smith. The reason they've had to take up these issues is because of Jack Smith. Meritless Garland. Garland was asked the other day about the ruling that Jack Smith is an unconstitutional. Do I look like somebody who doesn't know what the law is? No, you look like a jackass. We have two former attorneys general who said, yeah, you look like a moron. And we have a judge that wrote a 93-page opinion that Schumer's never read. None of them ever read. None of them ever read. This guy, Mark Cuban, he's a real schmuck. Thinks he knows everything. He knows nothing. He got lucky early on with the internet. Now he knows everything. He's got the head the size of a refrigerator. Have you noticed that, Mr. Producer? No offense. But there's Mark Cuban attacking Elon Musk, our hero. I don't know Elon Musk, but look what Elon Musk has done for the country and look what he's doing for the country. This man is fantastic. He didn't need to do anything. He could have been like one of these other billionaire schmoes. Just kept to himself or funded the left or rhinos. Way to keep your nose clean, but he didn't. He took over Twitter. He exposed it, even though he knew it wasn't a great business investment. And now we have a platform called X that's a real platform. It's a great platform. But I digress. So here's this guy, Mark Cuban, and he's taken off on Elon Musk. And I dare to go on my own social media accounts and call out the schmuck. The guy's dumb. What did he say? He said something like, let me introduce you to a book. I forget which book. Yeah, Ayn Rand. But I forget which book it was. Like, wow, what a comeback. Aren't you smart? And I pointed out, I've probably written more books than you've read, Cuban. But all these people are free to come on the radio show. Just call in. I'm more than happy to debate them. More than happy. Oh, no, I love the media. Mark Cuban. Wow, he really got to Levin. What are you talking about? But they're stupid headlines. So, no King's Act, writes Schumer. They want to get rid of the filibuster. They want to destroy the Supreme Court. They want to change the electoral system so they never lose. They want to enshrine their laws so they can never be changed. They want to change the Constitution itself. We need to update, you know. And they pretend to be on the side of no kings. You know, George Orwell, he wasn't the only one, but others, but George Orwell, he wrote about the use of the English language in a democracy. Very, very short essay, but a brilliant essay nonetheless. And he said, have you ever noticed that every, and I paraphrase, genocidal police state claims to be a democracy? You notice that, Mr. Producer? The People's Republic of this, the Democratic Republic of that. And so I would say the same thing about the Democrat Party. You notice they always claim to talk about democracy when they're a autocratic party struggling on whether to be more fascistic than Marxist. Have you ever noticed this? We defend democracy, but that damn Supreme Court's in the way, and the Electoral College is in the way. That's right. And the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, they're in the way, and the Fifth Amendment and the Sixth and the Eighth and the 14th. For God's sakes, they were written by slaveholders. They were written by white supremacists. But we support democracy. Yes, we do. Ask Kamala. She's going to be our nominee through a virtual nomination process. Virtual. Yes, virtual. We're very cutting edge here in the Democratic Party. Never received a single vote to be installed as the Democrat Party nominee. That's why they lie when they talk about democracy. The No Kings Act coming from Schumer. Again, from now on, officially, it's going to be called the Schumer is an A-hole Act. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Oh, yeah. Here's an ad from Polaris, which is really fantastic. This was sent to me this morning by our friend Morgan Ortegas. Check this out. Cut 10, go.
President Biden always said that he wants you to be the last person in the room, particularly for big decisions. He just made a really big decision. Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
The Taliban are now in complete control of Afghanistan.
On the issue of Afghanistan, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy.
You could see the images of the helicopters from both Saigon, 1975 to Kabul.
It's really something to see. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
There must be an immediate ceasefire.
Can she go toe-to-toe with Xi Jinping, with Vladimir Putin, with Kim Jong-un, with the Ayatollah if needed? That's what this election is all about.
Democrats, we are delivering big time.
Great ad. This montage, Kamala Harris touts her radical Marxist agenda. Fox News montage, cut 9, go.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. There's no question that we've got to critically re-examine ICE, and we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
What would you do about the millions of, specifically, assault weapons that are already in circulation?
We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program.
You support the Medicare for All bill. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it.
Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Government-run healthcare. That works great. That's why all our friends in Britain have yellow teeth. Have you noticed that, Mr. Producer? Oh, yeah. When they're done their quota of dental work, they stop. That's why all the people in Canada try to come to the United States for major surgery, so they don't die waiting in line. Now, folks, Kamala Harris, the federal government, the least efficient, the dumbest imaginable. You really want your health care decisions to be made by the federal government? Do you? The same federal government that's mandating electric vehicles but has no electric vehicle charging stations? Is that where we are now? No, I don't think so. J.D. Vance was at a rally in Arizona today. They're dehumanizing J.D. Vance while they are trying to humanize Kamala Harris. As I said, they're trying to create Kamala Harris via J.D. Vance and J.D. Vance versus Kamala Harris. J.D. Vance is upper tier when it comes to how he did raise himself by pulling himself up by his bootstraps, how he served the country in the Marines, how he became a successful entrepreneur. What the hell really has Kamala Harris done? Does anybody know? What has she done for America? Well, you was the DA. I said, what has she done for America? Other than her self-serving campaigns. I mean, she's so superficial and yet ideologically radical. That's a dangerous combination. That's a very dangerous combination. Vapid and radical. That's right, I said it. The truth is the truth. But J.D. Vance now has visited the border as a senator, but it's certainly here as a candidate more times than Kamala Harris ever did. When she was attacking ICE, are you aware of the perception that you folks are like the Ku Klux Klan to a lot of it? No, I'm not. Hey, let me finish. Oh. you aware of the perception? People think this. And how does she know? She's never been down there. Oh, she went there real quick, I was there. No, I was there. At least 3.5 minutes. On Thursday, May, whatever. Yes. She doesn't speak Spanish. She doesn't speak any foreign language. So they're not crossing the border from Harvard Yard or some other place. So how does she know what all those people think? That's her projection. I'll be right back.
This is America's Constitutional Convention. The Mark Levin Show. Call in now. 877-381-3811.
Well, Maduro stole the election in Venezuela, as Bernie Sanders would pronounce it. No question about it. And I see our Secretary of State, our Secretary of Confusion, Antony Blinken, has issued a statement saying as much. Very courageous of him. So the Democrats have indeed found an election that was stolen. In addition to the stealing of the election from their own voters in this last primary. And so here's Maduro. No question he stole the election. The man lost by like 30%. So they all lose. So they go through the motion. This is what I mean. He'll claim that we had an election, so it's a democracy. Schumer will claim, look at us. We hate the Constitution. We hate the founders. We hate our country. We hate these limitations on our power. We hate the filibuster. We hate the Supreme Court. But we're a democracy here in the Democratic Party. We are named the Democratic Party. That's why I refuse to call them the Democratic Party. I used to do it all the time. Called them that in future books, or past books, rather. But in my last book, I said, no, you're not a Democratic Party. J.D. Vance at a rally in Arizona today. By the way, the guy's very sharp. He's got a great background. And so there they are, dehumanizing the guy. You see, here the media creates devils and angels. Listen to me. They create devils and angels. So Trump's a devil, J.D. Vance is a devil, Netanyahu's a devil, and so forth. But then we have our angels, with the light. Kamala Harris is an angel. Oh, my goodness. Unbelievable. Antony Blinken he's an angel. Hakeem Jeffries, an angel. They don't go digging into his texts and emails, do they? No. Yet he has a past and a very ugly one. And they're certainly not going to go into Kamala's past. All kinds of weird stuff going on there. No. She's an angel. Do not question her. These are the words you're allowed to use. These are the words you're not allowed to use. These are the thoughts you must have. These are the thoughts you must not have. Oh, okay. So here's J.D. Vance today, Arizona. Cut 7, go.
Now, it's funny what Kamala Harris does, but what she has done to this country is not a laughing matter. Just today, I heard that the Biden-Harris Department of Justice cut a deal with al-Qaeda terrorist Khalid Sheikh Mohammed to avoid the death penalty. It was reported today. Now, as someone who enlisted in the Marines to serve after 9/11, that is ridiculous, but it's not surprising. Now, just think about the point that we've gotten to.
Now, let's just think a minute. Compare that to Kamala Harris, the first would-be, soon, black woman candidate for president. How did she serve? She didn't do anything. She's young enough. She could have done something. And yet her opponent, at least on the vice presidential level, so not officially, but you get my point, he did. So how come he doesn't get any points for that? Oh, don't you remember the text from 1741? Oh, my God, that text was unbelievable. And cat lady? Using the phrase cat lady. Ladies, he's using the phrase cat lady. He hasn't used the phrase Hitler. Well, that's different. That's different. No, that's different. Go ahead.
Harris have weaponized the Department of Justice to go after their political opponents, but they're cutting a sweetheart deal with 9/11 terrorists.
100%.
We need a president who kills terrorists, not negotiates with them. Yep. Now, the weakness of this administration, of Kamala Harris's administration, has been a disaster for our country all over the world. Now, there are so many examples we could talk about, but recent news comes out of Venezuela that they cut a deal with a dictator in Venezuela, and they offered in exchange that that dictator would have free and fair elections. And shocker, the Kamala Harris administration doesn't know anything about free and fair elections.
That's a fact, Jack. That's a fact, Jack. Do you know they cut that deal? And Maduro promises, well, of course we will have free and fair elections. Gringo. Stapudio, however you say it. Yes, of course we will. Mr. Blinken, he prays at the idol of diplomacy. He's an idiot. Biden's an idiot. Kamala Harris is an idiot. The three stooges of American foreign policy. May I say so? I did. More J.D. Vance on the border in Arizona. Cut 8, go.
When the media lies about Kamala Harris being the border czar, here is what you're lying about. You cannot have an effective border policy unless you have somebody who is coordinating all the different agencies of the U.S. federal government. You need the State Department involved to send people back to their home countries. You need the Department of Justice involved to prosecute these terrible drug crimes. And, of course, you need DHS involved so that the Border Patrol is empowered to do their job.
By the way, can you see how much smarter this guy is than Kamala Harris? That's why they don't want you to really get to know J.D. Vance or Kamala Harris. This guy's sharp. Kamala's not. Go ahead.
Was asked to coordinate all these functions of government, and she's done nothing. Every time I ask these guys...
Excuse me, that's not correct. Yes, she has. She has coordinated all the functions of government to promote DEI. Ooh. DEI. I can't use DEI? Congressman from Texas said that's the new N-word. Wait a minute. Biden's been using the N-word and DEI. You know who else used the N-word all the time? Lyndon Johnson. Oh, the great civil rights leader. How do I know? Because his biographer said so. They quote him. You see, LBJ actually recorded himself. Very proud of it. Go ahead.
You know, Brandon, Paul, let's play devil's advocate here. Tell me, has Kamala Harris done anything you've asked her to do? She is the border czar. Has your border czar done anything you've asked her to do? And the answer is no. They send letters. They make phone calls.
Wait a minute. She has done a lot on the border for the Mexican government, just not for ours. For all the other third world banana republics south of the border and all over the world. She's done a great job for them. The problem is, it screws us. May I say that? I think I did. Go ahead.
American president and vice president for leadership, and their own border czar ignores them. That is a scandal. That is a disgrace. And to every American watching this, it will stop, but only if you elect Donald J. Trump president in just a few months.
Very, very good. Very, very good. You know, over at the Drudge Report, talk about a sewer rat. Over at the Drudge Report, they can't find enough old statements that J.D. Vance said about Trump and so forth and so on. But they're very quiet about all the stuff Kamala Harris said about the country. Or whether it's the Drudge Report or Mediocreite, boy, what a lousy site that is. That's hate Trump all the time. If I were Media Matters, I'd sue them for plagiarism because Media Matters, the Soros front group, that's all they do. All these Trump-hating sites. No, we're media aggregators. We put together a list of top 100 media influencers. How dare you? And the guy that runs it, I think the highest job he ever had, Colby, whatever the hell his name is. Like a producer, a director behind a camera on a TV, whatever. Wow. What a think tank they have over there. Then they got one loser after another. Guy wrote for Salon. All leftists except for a couple, affirmative action for a few conservatives here and there. It's owned by Dan Abrams. You might remember him. Dan Abrams. That's right. The Jerry Springer of cable TV. The guy that has the biggest wig I've ever seen. He glues it on with that Gorilla glue or that crazy glue. Can't remove it if he wants to. But there he is on, what is it, News Nation? Is that the name of it? I'm a legal analyst. I really am. No, you're a Democrat hack. Evidence? Mediocreite. Yes, evidence? Mediocreite. So they're all out there, doing their thing. They're all excited. It's like they're all at a fraternity house or sorority. They're all worked up. They're all excited. They got the keg going. Oh, yeah. They got the keg going. All kinds of cool stuff going on the weekends in that fraternity and the other sorority over there. That's what the media are. That's what the media are, basically. We got our candidate, Kamala. We're going to drag her across the finish line. Now, here's the deal. What? Don't ask her any questions. Got it. Don't use any of the video. Got it. Don't question her. Got it. Attack Vance. Got it. Attack Trump. Got it. Oh, yes. Talk about all the fantastic things she's done with diversity, equity, and all the rest of it. Got it. Anyone who else mentions it on the Republican side, they're racist. Got it. Got it. She's got a Jewish husband. Did you know that? Got it. Okay, got it. So the fact that she's attached to care at the hip, a Hamas front group, doesn't matter. Got it? Got it? What other talking points? Trump is weird. Got it? J.D. Vance is weird. Got it? Got it? Cat ladies. That's a worse phrase than Hitler. Okay, got it? What else? What else? What else do you want me to do? Screw yourselves. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Kamala Harris is the tough prosecutor, Mr. Biddle. She's tough. And she pretends there's nothing she can do to stop the deal the Biden-Harris regime cut with the terrorist monster responsible for murdering 3,000 Americans on 9/11. She and the other regime propagandists, they're liars. If they wanted to stop it, there's nothing preventing them from stopping it. How do I know that? Because I served as chief of staff to an attorney general under a real president by the name of Ronald Reagan. And there's no way in hell that his administration would have cut a deal with a man who planned and executed 9/11 and killed 3,000 American citizens. The President of the United States and, by delegation, the Vice President of the United States are the executive branch. They can step in. They can order the Defense Department and their lawyers not to cut this deal, but they didn't, and they won't, because they agree with it. And the lying scum media pretends that they can't, when they can. So much for the tough prosecutor, Kamala Harris, who can't even bring herself to insist that the death penalty be used against these monsters. But she's a tough prosecutor. How do I know? Well, Jake Tapper told me, like he told everybody. It's all out there in the media. Haven't you read it? Oh, that tough prosecutor. Well, there was nothing I could do. Excuse me? That's right. It's Department of Defense. We can't really interfere with them. Excuse me. Bureaucrats at the Department of Defense don't get to decide what happens to the number one enemy of America who slaughtered 3,000 American citizens. Well, it's being handled by the judge advocate. I just can't. Tough prosecutor, huh, America? So, of course, when it comes to issues of race, MSNBC turns to Al Sharpton. It's funny how they dig into, same network, but others as well, J.D. Vance's background, but it's nothing like Al Sharpton's, which is loathsome, which is horrendous. And hence he has a job at MSNBC. Cut 15, go.
He came to use them as a backboard to score with the MAGA crowd to say,
all right, hey, pal, settle down. That's not what happened. He came there and he was set up. And the so-called ABC News reporter threw everything in the kitchen sink at him. And then the question was, effectively, how often do you beat your wife? They would never treat Biden that way, the true racist segregationist. They'd never question him about his opposition. And by the way, how come people of color on TV and radio never talk about Biden's history? Why is that? They never talk about the fact that he opposed integration. Why is that? They never talk about the fact that he threw in with these horrendous racists and segregationists. Why is that? Why do they never bring that up? Why do they never discuss this? And the question for Kamala Harris is, why did you put all that aside to be his running mate? Because you're power hungry, that's why. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine, the men and women in Israel. We know we've got your back, regardless of Biden and Harris and the rest of them. And I'll see you tomorrow. God bless each and every one of you. Take care.